next to another technology giant, which is quite a different story, not quite as attractive, does have a footprint in the cell phone market, and that's why we're talking about it, and that is Microsoft. Okay, I think everybody knows about Mr. Softy, established by Bill Gates back in the day. It's principally a software company because remember, its core product and by far its strongest business is the Microsoft Office suite. They additionally have a business which is surprisingly big, which is selling the Windows Server software. This is the software that sits on the computers that sit in these cloud installations where the internet is basically hosted and all of the data gets moved around. The reason we're talking about it in this conversation, though, is the Windows Phone division is based on the Nokia business that it bought for $7 billion at the tail end of 2014. So they are a player. They always had their own Lumia devices, and then they took in the Nokia business and they relaunched them and branded them as Windows phones, and they made software which is functional on these handsets. The company, of course, has had a very good run and a pretty good recovery. We'll see the share chart in a minute, but the market capitalization of this one is $379.6 billion. That's pretty hefty. So just more than half of Apple's size on the market. Price to earnings ratio a little bit higher than Apple's, 19.6, dividend yield of 2.62. Bill Gates, of course, is no longer directly involved in the management of the company. Neither is his sidekick, Steve Ballmer. Satya Nadella, an Indian man of American base, is now the CEO. He seems to be doing a good job. He's cut out a couple of divisions. Let's have a look at that share chart, because remember, a lot of people said, Microsoft, it's a bit dead and buried. It's a bit of a yesterday's hero. But it has done extremely well in that Office suite business. So this shows you the 5-year chart. You can see it's also off 4.67% in the aftermarket. It also had results yesterday, and those were also a little bit softer than people were hoping for. When I talk about Microsoft, though, understand that there are risks and threats to their dominance with regard to the operating system. I mentioned earlier that Windows, which is about to come out with a new iteration of its operating system, Windows 10, is the dominant platform. So this computer here that I was being rude about, it has Windows 8.1 on it. It will be upgraded to Windows 10. That's fine and good and well. Outlook, their mail client, maybe not quite as dominant as it used to be. More and more people are using either Mac Mail or using Gmail on the web. But there is absolutely no risk to the hegemonic position of Microsoft Office for word processing, and more importantly, Microsoft Excel within the corporate environment. The things that people do with Microsoft Excel in finance businesses, in budgeting, in all sorts of data management within corporates is nothing short of amazing. The productivity increase that has been wrought on the world as a result of Microsoft Excel is nothing short of amazing. It's much more important than the wheel or the motor car. Microsoft Excel. And then, of course, there are things like PowerPoint. I don't know, not everybody uses those, but of course it is very dominant in the presentation and that sort of thing. And then there are a couple of other Microsoft products. No one in a business context who is serious does have a computer that doesn't have that software on it. The server stuff is not unimportant as well. As far as the phones are concerned, dead and buried. In the last set of results, Satya Nadella, the CEO, basically took a write-off of that full $7 billion that they paid for Nokia. So we bought something for $7 billion in November last year. This time in these results, it's worth ziki, nothing. It's gone. Goodbye. We're not expecting to make any profits out of that division at all. And they're basically going to shut down Nokia. That's an amazing and astonishing recognition that Nokia, which was once like the dominant player in mobile phones, is basically dead, which reminds you that this is a tough industry with strong competitive undercurrents. So for me, Microsoft, not hot. There are a couple of other players in the market. Goldman Sachs, I saw a report overnight talking about the results. It has done well. You were wrong to call it hot in the last 5 years, but for me, it's facing competitive threats in some of its core business. Yes, it'll be okay, it'll do well, it'll probably have a high dividend yield, but for me, looking just a little bit too expensive current given its recognition of its underlying business fundamentals.